Hi, my kids call me Dada, and my name is John Birmingham. And this is how you can make a living paying your bills, making plenty of money, working at home. This is how you can work at home. Okay, you probably want to get some kind of a home gym, some kind of weights, somewhere in your house where you feel comfortable, where you can work out. You may be working a bunch on the computer, and to not be sedentary, you want to get physical activity. You can maybe jog outside if that's allowed during regular hours, or if you don't want to hurt your joints and tendons and stuff like that, strength training is the best way to work out well into old age without having to be really skinny. Because to be lower impact when you jog and stuff, you got to be really skinny, and strength training is better to do. So I suggest working out at home. So here are various things you can do. You can fill out surveys. They don't pay that much. You can work really hard at YouTube, and you may be able to, I don't know if there's ever going to be a way you can make enough money at it, but if you're determined, and after 30 years at that kind of work in movies, videos, stuff like that, you'll make money. You'll make money at it. So, and you may get fame too if you want to be in front of camera. You have to work at it. You have to be motivated enough to want to do it. And you have to be good at your work. God has to give you a special ability at it. You can't just randomly say, oh, I like being in front of camera doing nothing. You have to actually do good work. These videos are not my best work. My best work is movies and some of my videos. But my music videos on my channel and some other films are films, and they're technically a video, but not really a video. But some of my videos are some of my best work, but it's mostly my films. So some of my best work is in videos, but it's not generally the best work I've ever done, which is more in movies. So I worked at that for 30 years, and it didn't start making money until after about 20 years of it. But this video is for you, how you can work at home. Something good you can do is home renovation. You can renovate your own home. And here's how I paid almost all my bills with home renovation. I had worked for my mom and dad for 10 years, and then I had 2 houses that were not in new condition that I owned after working for them for 10 years. I owned 1 house and 1 rental house. So that's a miracle that I owned 1 house and 1 rental house. And I wanted to not work for them anymore and be on my own. And I thought, I'll make videos at home. So I got to work on getting the people out of those houses and working on those houses a bunch to make them look brand new. And it was so much work. And the first year, I had to live on credit cards. I borrowed $70,000 on credit cards. I had 5 or 10 credit cards. Some had 4,000, some had 2,000, some had 10,000, 12,000 that I could borrow. And I borrowed $70,000 on credit cards that I could use to renovate those homes to make them new and in really good condition. And I had to study how they had to pass inspections, and I had to do everything, so the house looked really like new, and people could buy it, and it would pass for a loan, a regular home loan, and somebody would buy it. And I had to do that real work. I had to make the house look like new, and I had enough money to hire other people to help here and there. I'd hire people to help, or people to bring things from Home Depot. This was before Home Depot delivered, I think. They may have delivered, I don't know. This was in 2015. when I started doing it. And I paid my bills for 10 years. I've paid my bills working at home for 10 years, and I was able to buy a mansion, this house. It's a mansion, and I bought it for only $102,000 cash. I bought it in cash because the two houses I owned, I got them looking in new condition, and I had to work so hard because, I mean, it was not easy, and I was depressed or sad or discouraged, and I'd often think I don't even want to live anymore. It was so hard to do not because of the work, but because my wife and kids weren't with me at home, and I felt alone. I felt very alone. I had to work long hours. On average, I worked 12 hours a day. I worked 12 hours every day for the first year and a half. And that's what you may have to do to get something better, like a really cool house or something when you do home renovation. The first year and a half, I worked every day with only 4 days off. The entire first year and a half, 12 hours a day on average every day, including weekends. So imagine having to do that much work. It was not easy, and I had to suffer alone. And when Christmas time was coming, I was so worried I might not get to see my kids, and I cried. I'd cry sometimes, and I felt alone and sad, and I had to keep working, and it was not easy, and I gained some weight. And don't worry if you gain weight from working so hard, because you can lose the weight. The work itself does not hurt you. It doesn't hurt you to do God's work. It's like hard labor or work or something like that. I was shaking my leg. I was doing this. Work does not hurt you unless you really, really work too hard. You may have to, I've had to learn how to not hurt my body from working too hard. I had to work less so I wouldn't hurt so my body wouldn't, and so you what you should do is, if you want to work on your own, here's what you do. I suggest working in real estate. But if you hadn't worked for 10 years before that and you didn't own 2 houses, here's how you can get rich at real estate if you want to actually work at real estate and get rich. Well, the first year and a half, like I did, you got to work 12 hours a day, every day. You might get 4 days off the entire time. Like I literally only had 1 day off the first entire year. It was, the only thing that was difficult about it was that I wasn't with my wife and kids, so it felt bad to work that hard. Some people like working that hard, but I didn't get to feel really good like I did sometimes got to feel when I worked long hours, but it wasn't that fun, but I had to anyway. And so what I did was, okay, say like you can only make $20 an hour, $15 an hour. Say like you can only make $20 an hour at some regular job or working from home. Maybe you can find some job that pays you online to make $20 an hour. Well, that's enough that for everything. You have all you need. You can work at home. You don't need to do any more. You can just get one of those jobs. There's so many of them now online. There are so many of those jobs, but I didn't do that. I didn't work for $20 an hour. I worked for my mom and dad, and they worked in real estate. So I worked for them, but I didn't work very hard. So I wasn't that good at renovating houses because I kind of didn't work very hard for them, and it made me really sad to even have to work a little bit because I had worked really hard at, God's work and all I did, and also my films and videos and music and singing. And so I worked really hard at that, but mostly it was for God. Everything I did was for God. It was for God, and all that I did was for God and Jesus. So if you want to get rich, though, the way to do it that I suggest, that I know how to do it right now. I don't know if I'm rich or wealthy or what. Last year I think I was wealthy. I might be wealthy. I don't know. I don't know, because I have a value in this house, and you have to subtract your debt from your, from your assets and cash and stuff that you own, and subtract the debt from it. You can even add things like computers or things to see if you have a net worth. If you add up all your stuff, you might be surprised to see you have a net worth. You might have a $20,000 net worth and didn't even know it. It's for people who don't have that much money, or they thought they didn't have any money. They thought they were poor, and they have a $20,000 net worth because of the things around their house, like computers and stuff, or their phones. And I'm not trying to brag, but I have a bunch of stuff. It's in storage. It's in storage. I haven't been able to have it out in the house, unless I was using it to stage the house to look good in case I had to. I don't know, but it adds furniture. Maybe Danica is going to come back here with the kids, my wife and kids. I see them here and there. Talk to them on webcam and stuff like that. It hasn't been easy, but I really got to pay my bills working at home, and I didn't have to suffer in social environments that I didn't want to. So that was a miracle. And, because I had difficulty sometimes in social situations, and it wasn't that easy for me. And so here's the thing, is that if you want to get really rich, this is how you can actually do it if you work really hard the first year and a half. Okay, say like you want to get really rich. Okay, really wealthy. The real estate is the way to do it, because if a house is old, you keep working on it and keep working on it, but you have to work on it really hard, like 2 full-time jobs, and you keep working on it, and it's going to be work and more work, and you have to do your best work and quality work, and you have to learn how to do the work yourself, or you have to hire. Look what I was doing with my leg. I was doing this. I don't know. And you have to hire other people sometimes to do the work if there are things that you don't know how to do. And you have to do it for a regular budget that's fair, and you always pay them what you're supposed to. And I probably paid them not well more than I was supposed to, but I paid them, I've had thousands of people I've paid to do work in my lifetime. In my life, I've paid maybe thousands of people to do work, or hundreds, thousands. I think it's thousands. And so I've hired people to be actors. I've paid them $200 a day. I've paid them $1,000 a day. I've paid them $2,000 a day. I've paid them, I've made movies where I spent $9,000 a day in cash of my own money for one day of filming. I had to hire employees for things to do work and to get work done, but also at home, I mostly did all the work myself. So that's the thing. You have to be really good at the work you do. You have to be able to do really good work, and sometimes you have to do 10 times the quality of work that other people do. So it matters how it's like, it's not easy sometimes, but you'll get through. And it's not going to be crappy feeling forever. People want to do whatever they feel like after they got home from work and look cool and feel good and do nothing or stuff like that. But you have to keep working, and it's not easy, but you have to keep working if you want a bunch more money. I'm going to itch my leg. My leg itches. My leg itches. Really itchy. Okay. No. Who? So here's a way that I know how to get rich. Say like you have nothing, and this is if you have nothing, no money, and you only have loved ones, God and Jesus and loved ones, and there's no meanness about it. Never be mean about it. You're never supposed to be mean about your work. So if it's wrong for you, it's wrong for you. Don't do it, because God may have a better plan. But I know how to get really rich if I had to. You work really hard the first year and a half, like 12 hours a day, every day. Pretty much 12 hours a day, every day. Some days you might work 20 hours. Some days you might work 3 hours or 6 hours. And on average, it's going to be like 12 hours a day, every day, with only I only got a day off the first entire year. I only got a day off the first entire year, and I got 4 days off the first year and a half. And it was not easy. I don't know. I almost got sick one time from working so hard. And so here's what you do. If you want to make a bunch of money and you have nothing right now, get 2 full-time jobs, even if they're $20 an hour. So, but think about it. Try to be your own boss. Like, instead of, okay, you could go to door mowing lawns. You could mow lawns for neighbors or people in a neighborhood or businesses, and then try to, instead of working as a low paid person just mowing the lawns one at a time yourself, try to think about how you can get way more customers to mow their lawns. Like, how can you mow 200 lawns or 100? About 100 lawns. So if that's paid $40 a lawn on average, or $55 a lawn, or maybe $40 on average a lawn, and that's 100 lawns, that's $4,000 every 2 weeks that you mow the lawns every 2 weeks. And it's only going to be in summer for the people who it gets cold and snows, or it'll be year round if you live in California or places where it's warm. And so it's about $4,000 every 2 weeks. So you get some other mowers, you learn how to use the gas and the stuff like that, or something that you worked at as a child that you know how to do. I mowed lawns, so I knew how to mow lawns. So I was thinking about doing something like that. And I also acted in videos, so I get to work on the way I've looked in my health and stuff like that. So I look in front of camera. So that helped me to not be sedentary when I did a bunch of work in front of computers. So you can do it. But you got to work really hard the first year and a half. You'll not save. Don't spend money. Don't spend money on useless things. Try to get by beneath your means, meaning don't spend much money on much of anything unless you have to. But it's kind of stupid to be too poor about it. You know, it would feel too bad to be too poor about it, and it wouldn't do much to be too poor about it. So spend money and do what you're supposed to, because God may have a different plan for you. God may have a different plan for you that's better than making a bunch of money or staying at home. He may want you to go out there. So do everything for God and Jesus, because God may want you to go out there more instead of living at home. But, you know, look at those famous musicians, life on a tour bus, you know, when they're on tour. I had a friend tell me it's like a not even as big as a one bedroom apartment, and they have the entire band trying to stay in there on the tour bus, even if it's a rich tour bus. The wealthiest entertainers who play music on huge stages when they go on tour. It might be fun to play a huge show here and there. It might be fun to play a huge show here and there if you can do that somehow. Open for a really big band without having to go on tour. But it might be fun because once they're done going on tour, they go back to their house or wherever. And some people like being on tour, but I don't like it. I like being away from people, unless it's my wife and kids. I like my wife. I like God, Jesus, my wife. I like God, Jesus, my wife, my children. I like my wife. If there's something funny with anything going on, that I'd rather be with my wife and kids, then it's like everything's okay. And so I may not look the best in this lighting or whatever, but I look okay, and so I look pretty good. But so I know of a way to be really rich. It's hard work. It's hard work, and it's stuff that you might not want to do. So, do you want to live your life that way? But those people who do really well at real estate, they like what they do. And real estate is the best, most reliable way to become wealthy. People like Jeff Bezos and people with like $200 billion have way more money than the richest people in real estate. So the richest people in real estate may only have $4 billion. Like Donald Trump is one of the rich. That's about as rich as you can get in real estate. But it's the easiest, most sure way if you're able-bodied enough to work and do the work and you work hard enough. But we don't always know what's going to happen. There could be problems that come up, or you might have to take care of your parents, or you might have to spend more time raising your children, or you might have to do other things, and we don't know if you'll be able to work that hard at a job like real estate. But that's the best way to almost nothing. Well, something could go wrong, but it's unlikely when you do enough work. So that's how you work from home. You just get a job that pays an hourly thing. You can work from home, or if you want a really cool house, then work really hard the first year or two, year and a half, and save up some cash that you can use with money on credit cards once your credit is built up really big with having those two jobs. And after the first year and a half, you can borrow at least $40,000 on credit cards, and you'll have $20,000 or $40,000 more cash from working that year and a half. And try not to waste money on stupid things. Don't buy expensive things that you don't need, because when you start making a bunch more money, you might get tempted to spend it all. And that's what people do who don't know how to keep their wealth, because you have to live beneath your means. meaning don't spend like somebody who's really rich. It's stupid because the money gets thrown away. But God may have a better plan, and we may have to do things a different way. Like my uncle, Richard, got a settlement. A doctor hurt his hand, and he got hundreds of thousands of dollars. He got like, I don't know how much. I know, but it was a bunch, and he was able to retire. He moved down to Roanoke, my town here, and my mom and dad thought he was stupid he spent all this money on Aunt Lavinia, and they always said, why is he spending so much money? He should have saved his money. And he spent he spent all the hundreds of $1,000s on my Aunt Lavinia, who he's in love with, who he's married to. And they went on vacations, and he bought her like stuff a bunch. He bought her a bunch of stuff, so she had a good quality life, a house that looked like pretty good, a nice little ranch, regular house, and she had a good quality of life. She had a good quality of life until she got cancer, and I think it was in her 50s. She got cancer, and she died, but by the time she died, he spent all the money. So he gave her a really good quality of life while she was alive. So God may have different plans for us for things like that instead of being rich. And then he got to stay in the house, and the house was put in my dad's name, and he kind of worked for my dad here and there, and he was like he worked for my dad here and there, and he painted for him, did things like that on my dad's houses. He was one of the people that worked for my dad. And then he got old and died, and he died when he was 78. And he's Uncle Richard. And who is this? Michael Jackson. I shaved all my body hair off with a bro shaver. It was called bro shaver, and it put these little cuts in my body that usually doesn't do anything like that. But I shaved my body hair off, and it says bro shaver, and it has a stick, and you can and you can shave any hair on your body off with it. And I got it on Amazon.com, and it worked at first. The first time I did it, it didn't scratch me, but the second time I shaved off all my body hair, it got old or something, and it scratched up my body. It put little scratches all on my body. Put scratches on me. I don't know why. And so I feel almost so sedentary and sitting here and feeling worse and worse. I don't really want to get up. I kind of feel exhausted because I worked out a bunch and I've been fasting to try to look better. I wonder if I look any good in the mirror. I don't know. It feels like I'm high. And so I'm hoping to get my wife and kids back. But I may have to leave. I may have to go away from my house. Hey, it looks like I'm skinny when I looked at myself in the mirror, but I don't know. I'm going to try to look at myself in the mirror somewhere, see if I look good or whatever. Stupid. Yo. Ain't look any good. Looks pretty cool. My legs look strong. Yo, look at that right leg. Really strong. Wow, that right leg looks really strong. I think. Look at it. Really strong. Yo, dudes. Yo. That's cool. I think that's pretty cool. But I'd like to lower my body fat on my stomach. And I'd like to lower my body fat. And so I've been fasting, so I feel a little bit tired. And so if you really want to get rich, the way is to work really hard the first year and a half, and you'll get a bunch of cash and money on credit cards, and you can buy a small house and do all the work to fix it up, and while you're living in the house, and you can get the internet and stuff like that. And when you do enough work to that one, then sell that and make a really good profit, and you might walk out of that house with $100,000 cash. And with that money and the money you can borrow on credit cards, because you'll have good credit, and you may have 70,000 more you can borrow in credit cards, you'll have 170,000 cash to invest in another one and work. But my dad thinks that you're supposed to have a regular job and then do the real estate as a venture capital, which means, you don't want to lose everything. You don't want to put, it's a little bit of a risk. And I did it, and somehow nothing went wrong. And get the house insured as soon as you're able to. So if there's a fire or anything, it'd be okay. And I've worked really hard since I was a teenager, and really hard since I've worked a bunch since I was like 20. But for God, I always worked hard for God. I don't know. I always worked hard for God, but then one time when it just felt the worst of everything and it wasn't getting any better, I got misled in my faith, and I started being mean to others. And I followed all the laws so I didn't get in trouble. And I was mean to them, and with all my intent and heart sometimes, to try to work harder, and I blamed them. And then it was really bad. It was really stupid. Don't ever do it, because every detail of what you do to them will come back to you. And it caused the worst depression, and it was really bad. So do everything for God. And I was only mean for about 2 years of my entire life. So, and even then I wasn't that bad. So it hasn't been that bad. So I have it pretty good. I have a pretty good life. And if you have kids, you got to raise kids, and you can't work. You might not be able to work 12 hours a day. But if you're married, that's more money for all of you. Or it's easier to raise kids when you're married, because you're supposed to do better when you're married. But in some instances, that's not true because of the sin of the earth. Some people with families may be poor. But for some reason, I haven't had to be poor. I don't know why. So I'm going to go. And I had to work really hard since I was a teenager. And God made me like at unrest sometimes. And hopefully at this age, I'm getting to a place where I can be at peace and be at rest and take it easy and not worry about things anymore and not have too bad fear. It's been so difficult. And don't ever go to the devil, that would ruin everything. God may strengthen you like in the Old Testament ways to defend yourself against others, but that'd be about the meanest of it. I don't see why we would ever have to do that. But God does all things, so there's a reason why everything happens. I don't know why. It's too bad. So Oh, but that's because of the sin of the earth. That's why it's too bad. Because the devil messed it up, and because of the sin of the earth. I don't know. So, the devil messed things up, and sometimes it's not that great on the earth. But it's okay. I haven't been depressed. Excuse me. I haven't been depressed. So at least I feel okay. And hopefully, if you have any problems, they go away. Because we will all be changed. Because God is really that good that he loves all of us, and we will all be changed. We'll all be made without sin one day. We'll all make it to heaven, even those who spend forever in hell. After they're in hell forever, time will end, and they too will die the second death, and they too will be changed. We will all be changed. That's in the Bible. Okay, because God's really that good. You know, he loves even non-believers. Okay, so I'm going to go. Praise God, praise Jesus. This is the house where I live that I renovated. The coolest, best thing that happened was when I decided to go on my own. You know, I had two houses. One was like a regular neighborhood house. It was a 4-bedroom, 3 or 4 bedroom. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it had 3 bedrooms and another big back porch that looked kind of like a bedroom. And so it wasn't anything like really cool, but it was like an okay kind of house. And I owned one other house as a rental. And so when I worked for a year and a half, 12 hours a day, every day, with only 1 day off the first entire year, the thing that I did that was really good was I really was hoping to make YouTube videos when I got some other house. When I had enough money to buy a house out in the woods, I was going to make YouTube videos out in the woods. And I thought that would make plenty of money. And that's what I really like doing, is films and videos. So I got this idea to go out to the woods and make YouTube videos by myself, and I wouldn't have to have anxiety anymore about having to be around others socially. And I had got a house that was big enough for my wife and kids and me. So I have this place that I live in that's big enough for all of us. So the thing that I worked at was home renovation. It was hard work. I had to learn how to install a vanity and put the sink in, in the vanity myself. I didn't put that sink in. I don't know why I didn't put kitchen sinks in yet, but I know how to do it, and I've hired people to do it. So that was what I did 12 hours a day. And at the end of the day, for about 30 minutes a day, I had hardly any time. I had a small amount of time, 30 minutes a day, about every day. I'd work on videos, but really I worked 12 hours a day on the home renovation. It was so hard to do for the first year and a half that I was getting away from my mom and dad, and I didn't want to work for them anymore, and I was going to go on my own to the woods, somewhere big enough for me, my wife, and kids, where we could work on videos. This house, it's out in the woods. So here's the cool thing that happened. Something really good that happened. Not only did I get a really cool, good house, it was so much work because it was really big. It was not easy, but I got a cool house. And for the 30 minutes a day, I had a small amount of time to work on videos back then. Now I get to work on videos 8 hours a day or something like that if I want to, but I haven't this year. And so I kept my YouTube page going, at least one video a week. I did at least one video a week, about 30 minutes a day I'd spend in the videos or something. So I kept the YouTube channel going with one video a week. And when I got enough money after the first year of work, 12 hours a day on home renovation and only 30 minutes a day on videos, it was so hard to do because I really like videos and films. and I like being with my wife and kids, and I didn't get to see them often because she was angry at me. So it was a miracle I had to work, and it was not easy because I had very little love inside. It didn't feel that great, but I worked anyway. And when I got to this house, one of the videos I did, I got an idea to dress up as Ronald McDonald and bring my kids McDonald's food. And I got my wife to film at their house, and by some miracle, it went really big. It went really huge. And videos may not be for you. You know, you may not want to do something like that. That's my kind of thing that I was hoping to do one day, and I did. And it went really huge, and it went bigger than Elon Musk's #1 video online. It was bigger than his video with him and Joe Rogan, his #1 video, and it got 63,800,000 views, or 63,930,000 views, 63 million or 64 million. It's about to have 64 million views, or 63 million views. And it was monetized in a regular video, long form video that's wide like this one. And it earned us, because it got us more subscribers to our channel, and it earned a bunch of money too. The video itself is what earned most of the money, and it earned us like $200,000. And that was a miracle. And I got famous, well, because I was in a famous video playing Ronald McDonald. I'm famous, and I also star in movies and worked really hard to make movies, because before I had to be on my own, I would spend almost everything into the film and videos, and I'd make sure we had enough, you know, for me and Danica and the kids. We always had plenty. And you know, I'd never take away from our food or something like that. It was not a worry for us. God has a better plan for you. Okay, bye. This is Dada. Hi, Rowan, Ivan, and Ayla. Hi, Mama. I love you. Bye. And everybody else watching this, you know, we may hate one another. Only God always loves us. God will always love us. You don't need church unless God wants you to go to church. It does not say in the Bible that you have to attend a church. It may be for you or may not be. You may be more godly and good at home. Okay, praise God, praise Jesus. Bye.